there are only 4 potential reasons that you're struggling on Upwork. And in today's video, I'm gonna walk through every single one of them so that no matter where you're at in your journey, you know why you're struggling and you know how to fix it. And as I go through these 4 potential problems, I want you guys to be analyzing your own scenario. So pause this video, click on your Upwork profile picture, and then click stats and trends. And then you'll be able to see your proposal statistics from the last 7 days, last 30 days, last 90 days. And so you should be looking at your proposal statistics from the last 30 or 90 days as I go through this. So problem number 1 on Upwork that you could potentially be facing is that you're not getting enough views. And so the KPI we have for this is that you should be getting views on 40% of your proposals or more, unless you're new to Upwork, in which case it's gonna be probably closer to 30%. Right? And we're gonna dive into, again, why this could be your problem and how to fix it in just a minute. But that's the first potential issue, not getting enough views. Second potential issue is that you're not getting enough messages, right? You're getting enough views, but you're not getting enough messages. Now, the KPI we have for this is that at least 10 to 20% of proposals you submit should be sending you a message. So if I send 100 proposals, I get at least 10 to 20 messages, right? That is the second potential problem. The third potential problem is that, you're getting enough views, you're getting enough messages, but you're not booking enough calls, right? And so again, we'll go over like caveats for these and how we can actually solve these problems and how to identify if these are your problems. But the KPI we have for this is that if I get 10 messages, I should book at least 3 calls, right? So 30% of the messages you book, 30% of the messages you get should book a call with you. And the fourth and final problem, which is rarely the case for most people on Upwork, is that you are getting on enough calls, you're getting enough messages, getting enough views, but you're not closing enough deals, right? That's this problem. And so at least 20% of the calls you get on should be turning into deals. Now, it could be a lot higher than that, right? These clients already know they need your service. So this is, again, rarely the problem. But nonetheless, we are gonna go over these 4 problems, how you can identify if they are your problem, and how we can solve it. All right, so the first thing to look at if you're struggling on Upwork is to analyze whether you're getting enough views on your proposals or not. And like I just previously mentioned, you can get this screenshot by clicking on your profile picture and then clicking stats and trends. And you wanna be switching this to at least the last 30 days. So you have a good chunk of data to be looking at, right? 30 days or 90 days is what I like to analyze. So in this scenario, this person submitted 100 proposals, 22 reviewed, they got 14 interviews, and they got 5 hires. And by the way, this just means messages, right? That's what Upwork calls an interview, is when someone sends you a message, right? So right off the bat, we can tell that they submitted 100 proposals and they got 22 viewed, which means their view percentage is 22%. And 22% is significantly lower than 40%. Remember, that's our KPI up here. And even if they're new, it's significantly below 30%. And so this is the reason they're struggling on Upwork. It's because they're not getting enough views on their proposals. That's it. That's the reason. And so how do we fix that now that we know that's their core reason? Well, down below here, this is Upwork from the client's point of view, right? This is what your proposals look like when you submit them on Upwork. The clients don't get to see the entire thing right away. They just get to see this little preview of your proposal, right? So they can see your profile picture, they can see the first 225 characters of your proposal, they can see some statistics right here, and that's the most part, right? They get to see your title, some other stuff. And so it only counts as a view if the client clicks on this little preview, right? If they click somewhere on this screen, because then your proposal opens up and they can read the whole thing. And that is when it counts as a view on Upwork. And so if you're not getting enough views on your proposal, there's a couple things you need to optimize. Number 1, make sure you have a really high quality profile picture, right? Make sure your face is lit clearly, it's a high quality photo, it's not grainy, make sure you have a good background, make sure you're smiling, your face is centered, just make sure it's a really high quality photo. Second thing is you wanna make sure that in the first 225 characters of your proposal, which you can see right here on this right-hand side, you wanna make sure that it's very personalized and that you have some social proof in there. And so use things that use details mentioned in the job description in this first 225 characters. The client should be able to immediately tell whether or not this is like a copy and paste proposal. And ideally, this person said, I have 10 plus years of experience. That's great. Like that's social proof. So have some social proof in there as well if you have any. Outside of that, make sure that you are, I guess before I even get to that, the third thing that can really help get more views is boosting your proposals. I just put out a video about this that goes all over boosting, my strategy for boosting, how I boost, why I boost. But this is really like the reason why I boost, because if you boost, you're gonna show up in one of the top 4 spots from the client's point of view, right, on the client's screen. And so that's really gonna help you get a lot more views. So if you're not getting enough views in your proposal, high quality profile picture, personalized first 225 characters with lots of social proof, and boost your proposal, right? Boosting will really help. So that's the first thing you wanna analyze. Now, if you're getting enough views, but you're still struggling on Upwork, then it's time to analyze whether you're getting enough messages or not. And so in this scenario, this person sent 100 proposals. They got 46 views, which is within our KPI. Remember, we want to get between 40, at least 40% of views, or if you're new to Upwork, 30% is okay. So they're getting plenty of views, but they only got 4 interviews, and then they were hired twice. And so they're obviously, like I said, interviews is just messages. It's Upwork's terminology for messages. Obviously, they are well below our KPI for messages, because our KPI is at least 10 to 20% of proposals you submit should be sending you a message. So they sent 100 proposals, they got 4 messages. That is their problem. Now, I'm gonna dive into my client account and show you why that's the problem, and then I'll show you how to solve it. Okay, so as you guys can see, obviously I'm on my iPad, so it looks slightly different than if I were on my computer. But when you submit a proposal on Upwork, like we just talked about, the client only gets to see a small preview of it. Now, when they click on that preview, like I just did, the entire proposal that freelancer or agency submitted opens up, and I, as the client, can read it, right? And then if I scroll, if the client likes this proposal, they're typically gonna scroll down, as I'm doing now, and then they can check out the entire profile from the freelancer. And if they like that profile, then they'll typically scroll back up to the top and they will send this person a message, right? So that's kind of the 2 steps in between getting enough views and getting enough messages, right? Because remember, it only counts as a view when I click on that preview and open up the whole proposal. So if you're getting enough views, but you're not getting enough messages, it's either an issue with your profile, right, down here, or your proposal after the first, 225 characters of it, right? And so if you are, again, those are they're very in-depth topics. So I have entire YouTube videos on my channel all about both profile optimization and how to create winning proposals. I've submitted over 5,000 proposals. So I have a full video breakdown of winning proposal principles on my YouTube channel. And so if this is your issue, if you're not getting enough messages, but you are getting enough views, check out my videos on profile optimization and proposal mastery. Now, if you're getting enough views on your proposals and you're getting enough messages, but you're still struggling to sign high-paying clients on Upwork, then the problem, or the next thing you need to analyze, which could be the problem, is whether you're booking enough calls, right? Now, for the vast majority of you guys, you're gonna be getting on calls with the client before they actually hire you. Now, the only exceptions to this is if the project is very inexpensive, or really that's the only exception. In most cases, that's like graphic design, maybe virtual assistants, or like a small video editing project. But other than those cases, most people are gonna wanna get on a call with you before they officially hire you, right? And so the KPI we have for this is that at least 10%, or excuse me, at least 30% of messages you get should be booking a call. So if I get 10 messages, at least 3 of them should book a call with me. And so in this scenario, the person sent 64 proposals, 31 reviewed. That's about 50%, right? So that's good on KPI. They got 12 messages. Now that's over 10%, so that looks good. And they got 0 hires, which is obviously not good at all. Now, obviously there's not a stat on here for whether you got on a call with the client, because interviews actually means messages. But you'll just have to keep track of that yourself, right? You'll have to know. And so if you're not getting enough calls, if you're not booking enough calls, which is rarely the issue, 90% of the time, the issue is either with one of the first 2 bottlenecks that we just talked about. But if you are not getting enough calls, there's a couple things you can do. Number 1 is going to be the CTA in your proposal should ask them if they're free for a call. You should say something like, I'd love to learn more about you and your project. Is there any time you're free for a quick Zoom call? Just simple, right? Easy, simple, but ask them to get on a call. So that's the first thing, is have a CTA in your proposal. Now, if you actually do that correctly, a lot of people will just respond to your proposal and say, hey, Nico, yeah, I'd love to hop on a call with you. Does Thursday work? And then bang, you set the appointment, you book the call. That's easy. The other types of responses, we're really getting into like appointment setting right now. The other types of responses are going to be questions, right? They're going to respond to your proposal with some questions. They might say, hey, what's your price? They might ask you some technical questions, whatever. I typically like to give people an answer, and then I also like to ask them to get on a call, right? And so I might, if they ask me what my price is for social media management, I might say, hey, Mr. Client, thanks so much for sending me a message. Our pricing for social media management ranges from $500 a month to $2,000 a month, depending on how many platforms you want us to manage, how many posts you want us to do, whether the posts are video or static, right? If you want us to write all the copy for them, et cetera, et cetera. In order to give you a better, more accurate estimate, I'd love to hop on a quick call. It can just be 15 minutes, either this week or next week. Is there any day that you're free, right? So I'm asking for that call again. Now, you don't want to be pushy, you don't want to be super salesy, but just simply ask for the meeting, and you'll find that most people are willing to get on a call with you, right? And so that is really how you book more meetings. It's just going to be by asking. And if you just do this one thing, add in the CTA, that will help a ton. Now, if you're getting enough views on your proposals, if you're getting enough messages from your proposals, if you're booking enough meetings, but you're still struggling to consistently sign clients on Upwork, then the problem is probably you're just not closing enough deals. Now, I'll say this is rarely the case. At this point, I've spoken with thousands of freelancers and agency owners who are using Upwork to sign clients between my free Upwork community and my premium Upwork community. I've spoken with thousands of people, and this is like rarely the issue. Like I would say less than 3% of the time, right? This is almost never the issue. Anyway, if it is the issue, here's how you solve it. So if you've never taken traditional sales calls before, like if you're a freelancer, you've never taken sales calls, you really, you're not comfortable leading the call, that's fine. Just treat it like an interview, right? Do some prep, right? Study the company that you're going to be meeting on this call, know some stuff about them, know what they're struggling with, come prepared, know some stuff. That will really impress people, and then just do the basics right? Have good lighting on your face, make sure, you've got a decent camera set up, you're wearing a good shirt, your hair is brushed, do the simple stuff well, and then just let that client interview you, and doing some research on the company, like I just said, will really, really impress people. And so if you've never taken sales calls, just sit back, let the person interview you, and you'll crush it. If you have taken sales calls before, you've taken sales calls from outbound or from ads or just, whatever, and you're comfortable leading the conversation, you should lead the conversation. Now, keep in mind, some clients will hop on the call and want to immediately take control of the call. And so in that scenario, I like to just sit back and I'll let them interview me still, right? But in most cases, you'll be able to take control and really lead the sales call. And so sales is exceptionally easy on Upwork. This is the reason so few people struggle with, this part. Is because these clients have already viewed your profile, they've already spent time reviewing your proposal, they've spent time messaging you, they already know they need your service, they're the one who posted the job, they're reaching out to you, they're extremely warmed up, and they already know they need your help. So it's just it's a very easy sales call. Really what you need to focus on is going to be a couple things here. Number one, let me move this out of the way. Number one is going to be rapport. Building rapport is basically just getting comfortable with the client and developing kind of chemistry, right? Ask them how their day is going. Don't be just relax, take it easy. Ask them how their day is going, how their week's going, whatever, the weather, ask them about whatever. Just get kind of in a conversation and get comfortable with that client. Develop lots of rapport. Because remember, people buy from people they like. You don't buy something from somebody you hate. You don't do that. Humans don't do that. You buy from people you like, and these clients already know they need your service anyway. So you don't have to spend any time convincing them. They already know they need you, right? So you just want to get them basically to like you, and you want to prove that you're a competent, capable person, and that you can do their job really well, right? So number one is building rapport. Usually I'll take 5, 10, or even 15 minutes just to kind of get to know the person, have some small talk, right? You can kind of read the room when you hop on that call. So that's the first thing. Second thing is going to be technical questions. Now, after I build rapport, typically I like to transition and I like to start asking them technical questions about whatever it is that we're gonna do for them, right? If it's about social media management, I'll be asking them, okay, how many platforms do you want managed? What platforms do you want us to manage? How many? I'll just be, asking technical, detailed questions so I know, A, what price to give them, but B, just more information about what the job we're gonna be doing, right? So that's the second section. Now, the more complicated your service is, the longer this section is gonna be. If you offer, web development and this is for like a custom CRM with automations included, this section will probably take some time because you're gonna have a lot of technical questions. But if you're doing graphic design and you're on a call with the client, there's probably not a ton of technical questions, right? So that's the second phase is technical questions. Third phase is gonna depend on what your service is. Support full. But if you offer a visual service, it's gonna be basically showing off the portfolio. And in the perfect scenario, let's say, like in that example, this is like a job for a custom CRM with automations. In the ideal world, you will have also done a custom CRM with automations for another company. And you could just share your screen and say, hey, Mr. Client, is this what you're looking for? Because I did this last week for another one of my clients, right? Now, again, this is really gonna depend on what service you're offering. You might not have done something exactly like the client before, like the client's asking you to do. But if you have, show them your portfolio and say, like, is this what you're looking for, right? How does this look? What do you think about this, right? Basically, you're gonna be showing off your work and again, proving you're competent, you're capable, and that you know what you're doing and you can do a good job for this company. And then fourth, just natural close. Now, after I say that, after I show them my portfolio, typically I'll say, is this what you're looking for? And then if they say yes, which most times they do, then I'll say something like, awesome, so do you want to move forward then? Something that's simple, something that's casual. It doesn't have to be super salesy. You could even just say, awesome, sounds good. And then you can kind of let it be silent there for a little bit. But like in most cases, it's not like you have to pressure them to close. You don't have to handle objections. You don't have to do any of that. These clients already know they need your service. You don't need to pressure them into buying. They know they need you, right? And so in most cases, it's not even really like a close. This just will naturally kind of happen at the end of the call. They'll say, okay, awesome, well, I'll send you the contract then. I would say that's how like 80% of my closes go on Upwork, is it just naturally kind of comes to an end after we build lots of rapport, we ask our technical questions, we show them the portfolio, then at the end, it's just natural and we just do the deal, right? And so that, in short, is the 4 potential problems that you could be struggling with if you are struggling on Upwork, right? It's one of these 4 things. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe. I put out YouTube videos on Upwork every single week. We have almost 70 videos uploaded now, maybe even more by the time this is published. So subscribe for more Upwork content and I'll see you in the next video.